Hello and welcome to your June 21st daily briefing. Today we're going to cover your questions on the next stimulus packages, issues people are having on the first stimulus package, and in the second half or so of this entire video, it is going to be dedicated to questions about the EIDL grant program. I know there was a ton of questions there, so I wanted to spend some time and make sure you all get your $1,000 grants if you're eligible to receive them. Getting right into it, first question. All right. First question is, are they still sending out stimulus debit cards? So it looks like they just sent out those initial 4 million debit cards, and it was kind of like a trial run, and I haven't seen any more news about additional being sent out. I've seen confusion on this several times, so I wanted to point out that the stimulus debit card is not a second stimulus or a second stimulus check or anything like that. It is the first one. This card was used as a vehicle to mainly get payments to people who didn't have bank accounts or access to banking. I know some other people received it, but that was the main purpose of it. If there is a second stimulus check, it's likely that you'll receive it in the same way you received your first payment. Majority will receive by direct deposit, some will get checks, and then very few by debit card. All right, moving on. This next question is actually from the IRS fact page, but I thought it was a great question. So, my address is different from my last tax return. How do I change it to make sure I receive payment? So, this is much more complicated than you'd think, than it should be, so buckle in, but it's very useful. First off, if you're set to receive a paper check, it will always go to the address on your last tax return. If your check gets sent there and you no longer live there, it should be sent back to the IRS automatically. If the IRS receives your payment back, they will update your payment status on the Get My Payment portal to need more information. And then, finally, you'll be able to enter in your bank account information to have it correctly deposited into your bank account. And if you don't provide your bank account information, the IRS will hold your stimulus check until they receive notice of your new address. To notify them of a new address, fill out the Form 8822. All you need to do is Google Form 8822 IRS. You'll see the form and you'll be able to get that payment redirected to the right address. Just follow the instructions on the form. It's not too bad, but I know it's a lot more convoluted than it should be, but hey, that's the process we have. Next question. I lost my stimulus check. How do I get a new one? This is one that I've received a lot of times in different variations, so I'm going to turn this into a more blanket question so the answer for this applies to a variety of situations. This will work if you lost it, if it was stolen, if it was destroyed, or if you were notified of delivery and it never came. If any of these situations happen, you will need to request a payment trace. First, if your payment was issued by direct deposit, double check with your bank to make sure they didn't receive the deposit. And then from there, you should request a trace on your payment if you check the Get My Payment tool and one of the following is true. It has been more than 5 days since your scheduled direct deposit and you haven't received it, or it's been more than 4 weeks since it was mailed to your address and you haven't received it, or it's been more than 6 weeks since it was mailed and you have a forwarding address and you haven't received it, or finally, if it's been 9 weeks or more since it was mailed, notified of being mailed, and you have a foreign address and you haven't received it. From here, one of two things will happen. If your check was not cashed, the IRS will send you a replacement check and you'll be a happy camper, you'll be on your way. However, if your check was cashed, probably not by you, the Bureau of Fiscal Service will send you a claim package that you have to fill out to verify what happened. It's going to be a whole process, but at least you'll have the ability to get your payment. And I'm sorry if that did happen because it's going to be a little bit of a hassle, but at least there's a solution. To start a payment trace, you can either call the IRS at 800-919-9835, but be prepared to be on hold for a very long time, or you can fill out Form 3911 and then write EIP on the top of that form. And you'll be on your way. Same with that form. Google Form 3911 IRS. You'll see the form. Fill it out. You'll be on your way. Good to go. Happy camper, money in your bank. All right. Now that we've covered that, let's cover all of your EIDL grant program questions, and let's get you some funding. First question. I saw this one a few times as well. What does the cost of goods sold on the grant application mean? For the case of the EIDL grant application, think of costs of goods sold as any expenses you have to pay for to earn money through your business or your venture or whatever you're applying through. Things like cost of supplies or products or labor, materials, those would all be considered part of your cost of goods sold. If you're looking to use the EIDL loan on top of the grant, this is when the cost of goods sold is more important because your loan size will be based in part off of what your cost of goods sold is. The loan size should be 6 times your monthly average cost of goods sold. All right, next question. Someone asks, do I need a tax ID number to apply? No, you do not. If you are a sole proprietor, independent contractor, or self-employed individual, all you need is your Social Security number for the application. You use your Social Security for your business, you use that on the application. If you have a tax ID number for your business, then you'd use that. Next question. I got the loan, but not the grant. What should I do? Reapply? Question mark. Okay, so I've seen this question or something similar to this question at least 20 times, maybe more. It appears that, well, some people are quickly receiving their grant money. Most people aren't. Most people are getting a loan proposal several days before receiving a grant. You should receive the grant automatically, and there usually is no contact from the SBA or like no congratulations, the grant is on its way, no communication. It normally, as crazy as it sounds, it just randomly appears in your account. So check your account every day and you likely will just see it pop up one day. If you applied and all you've received so far is the loan docs, you can just ignore that if you don't want the loan, and you should receive the grant at least eventually. I hesitate to say when you can expect any specific timeline for the grant because I'm sure the SBA has thousands of new grants to go through, and I mean in the past some people waited more than 50 days to get their grant money. So I don't want to promise anything to you, but you should be receiving it if you're eligible. If you are denied for the grant, you should be notified though. You will be notified. So if you haven't received any communication about the grant, don't worry because that is not a bad sign. The only reason I've seen people get denied for the grant so far is for bad credit, which I don't understand why that matters, but that's kind of besides the point. If you have applied and you still haven't received anything after, I'd say probably 2 or 3 weeks, then at that point I'd recommend grabbing a coffee or a tea and a real comfortable chair and calling the SBA, and again, it's probably going to be a long wait time. All right, next question. I received the $1,000 grant for the first go-around. Are you saying I can receive the $1,000 grant again? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. There's no second helpings allowed with this program. Next question. If I have an eBay business and do Lyft, should I do 2 applications? No, don't do 2. Only do 1 application. The SBA only allows 1 application per Social Security number. The only occasion in which you could receive more than 1 grant is if you own more than 1 business with uncommon ownership. So an example of this would be, let's say you own 100% of business A and you and your brother both own 50% of business B. You would be able to apply for both of those businesses in that case. However, even for this, you're only able to apply technically for active businesses, active investment businesses. So let's say, just for an example again, you own part of 10 different properties and each one has its own LLC and different ownership. 5% here, 10% there, whatever it might be. You actually would not be able to apply under those investments for all 10 of those if it's a passive investment and that's under the SBA's guidelines. I don't know how thoroughly that kind of stuff is checked, but that is the SBA's guidelines. All right, next question. Someone asks, my husband and I own a business and we want to apply for the EIDL grant. Do we mark down 1 or 2 employees? If you both work on or in the business, mark down 2 employees for sure. You're eligible for $2,000 then. Next question. Actually, this is the last question. Can you receive both Paycheck Protection and EIDL and have them both forgiven? You can, well, at least kind of. If you receive both the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL will be rolled into your Paycheck Protection loan under the current guidance. However, this gets really nuanced because technically you can't just use the EIDL and the Paycheck Protection Program funding for the same things. So if you use the EIDL for non-payroll items, I could see the argument pretty easily made that both could be forgiven. However, there's a lot of gray area there. All right, folks, that's all I have for today. If this video helped you out in any way, consider clicking the like button. Why not even subscribe? It's free, it helped me out. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.